again, sensing into the body and into the mind. Softening the eyes down or closing the eyes, whichever is comfortable for you today. Noticing if the spine is lifted, just lifting the spine upright, allowing the breath to flow in and out. As you settle in a little bit more and breathe maybe a tiny bit deeper, maybe even imagining the breath moving into the cells, and moving deeply into the body, into the fluids of the body and the muscles, the tendons, the bones. The breath as you inhale, bringing in nourishment to the cells. As you exhale, just letting out anything that no longer needs to be with you at this moment. And perhaps with a little more time, feeling some relaxation come in just by sitting still and paying attention to the breath, to the body, to the mind, without any judging or changing anything, just being with whatever is there for you. Allowing the mind and the body to communicate a little bit more in stillness, letting the breath be the conduit between the two. Moving awareness to just the breath, following the breath on its path into the body and out on the exhale. Maybe even feeling the heart beating and pumping the blood throughout the body as you tune in a tiny bit more. Narrowing to just noticing the breath as it enters the nostrils, feeling the coolness of the temperature as the air moves in. And as you let the breath out, just noticing the change in temperature of the air coming out of the body. notice the mind wandering from the breath. Just notice that wandering and gently let the mind return to just noticing the breath for a little more time. And very gently, keeping the eyes soft. If they're closed, gently opening them a tiny bit. And again, noticing the seat, wherever you're seated, is the spine lifted? A little relaxation in the shoulders, hands resting on the tops of the thighs. Awareness now to the shoulders. Notice how the shoulders feel today. Take a breath in, and as you release the breath, let the shoulders roll forward gently, and begin that noticing of sensation as you move the body. Paying attention if you move a little too far and it creates a very sharp sensation, making sure to move away from that and just stay with that pleasant sensation of the body. And then as you breathe in, let the shoulders come back to a neutral position. The breath in and out for a full cycle. And then taking an inhale. This time as you exhale, let the shoulders come back a tiny bit. Notice where the body moves, the opening on the front of the shoulders perhaps. Noticing the shoulder blades moving towards each other. And a couple of breaths here. Sensing where sensation arises in the body, or perhaps where there is a lack of sensation. Just paying attention. And then coming back to center. Begin to become aware of the hands, maybe even letting them come out beside the body and stretching the fingers away from the body and rolling the fingers back in, just gently opening and closing. And then a gentle holding of the fingers towards the hands and rolling the wrists in one direction. A gentle turning of the wrist in another direction. And then bringing the hands back to the tops of the thighs or the knees. And just noticing that sensation of the hands and the fingers touching the tops of the legs. Moving now to the feet. Bring the feet forward. Lifting the toes, the heels touching the floor. And stretch the toes away from the feet. And then gently roll the toes in. Away and in. And then gently rolling the ankles from side to side. And if you're on the floor, just notice what other parts of the body you might be feeling, and moving the hands behind the hips, perhaps lifting the heels, beside the body. Just find a way to lift the heels. It's kind of difficult. And then rotating the ankles in one direction, and then changing. And then bring the feet back down. And bending the knees if you're on the floor. Lift the spine just for a moment here. Take a couple of breaths. We're going to be moving into our cobra pose. So if you're on the floor, you actually do cobra on the belly. So coming to the belly. And you could even put a pillow under the abdomen if that is a little more friendly for you. If you're in the chair, just lift the spine and let the hands come down beside the chair. And if you're on the floor, let the head come to the mat or to both hands, folded under the head. And then bringing the hands under the shoulders if you're on the mat. And then everyone gently begin to lift the gaze up. Feeling a stretching and just being mindful if you move too far, especially if you have any neck issues. You can always just keep the forehead down on the mat and take the hands under the shoulders, and that will create a gentle back bend. For those of you in the chair, just looking up towards the ceiling, but again, being mindful of overstretching the neck. And then everyone come back down. In the chair, your head gazes level. If you're on the mat, you could bring the hands under the forehead. And then you have options here, moving back into Cobra, lifting the gaze. And you can move in and out of Cobra, or you could stay for 3 breaths. It's your choice. Just deciding what feels best for you today. And then everyone bringing the gaze back down. Hands back up on the thighs if you're in the chair. And if you're on the mat, bringing the forehead back to the tops of the hands. And just notice for a few breaths here any changes of sensation in the body after Cobra pose. And then we'll prepare to move into our half locust. And if you're in the chair, half locust is our standing posture. So if you'd like to start making that transition to standing, bringing a chair in front of you. And standing behind the chair, letting the fingertips rest on top of the back of the seat. If you're on the mat, you could take the hands down beside the hips and let the forehead rest on top of the mat, or you could turn the head one way or the other, just choosing what is going to work for you today. And then everyone lift the left leg away from the body, taking it back. And if you're standing, you could choose to keep the toe down or go ahead and just lift the leg, and a few breaths here. Lifting the entire leg, keeping the leg straight if you can. And then bring that foot back down. And then moving to the right. Everyone just take the right leg back behind the body, and you could keep the toe down if you're standing. And just notice as you hold the leg away from the body where you feel sensation, and always keep the breath flowing no matter where you're at. And then everyone bringing that foot back down. And we'll do that on each side again. So moving to the left, taking the left leg back away from the body, maybe feeling a stretch in the low back or in the front of the hip. And a few breaths. Bringing the leg back down, and right away moving to taking the right leg back away from the body, toes down on the floor if you're standing, or you can lift the toes up. Just pay attention to what the body has to say about it. And a few breaths. And then gently bringing the foot back down, and if you're standing, making your way back to your seat. If you're on the mat, you can bring the forehead down just for a moment, taking a few breaths, and then gently begin to roll to one side and then onto your back. I'm going to change my orientation here. And wherever you're at, in the chair or on the mat, making those adjustments in the body as you relax on the back. If you're on the mat, you could take a pillow under the knees and then a pillow under the head to begin. And just feel some relaxation in the body as you breathe here, noticing where the body is making connection to the chair or to the mat, and a few breaths. Maybe even closing the eyes and sensing any changes in the body from our work thus far. Maybe noticing when that relaxation comes into the body. And let the breath help that happen for you. And then we'll move into our wind elimination posture. So starting with the left leg, gently bring the knee up, holding either underneath the thigh or in the front of the knee. And a few breaths. Maybe even noticing just that connection of the upper part of the thigh with the abdomen as you breathe. Little easing of any potential gastrointestinal distress you might be experiencing. This is a good posture to help with that. And then very gently let that foot come back down to the floor of the mat. A breath in between sides. Just taking your time, there's no rush when we move through our postures. Begin to bring the right knee towards the body. And it may be just a tall lifting, depending on how your range of motion is today. And then once you arrive in your shape of the posture, stay for a couple of breaths. And then if you're on the floor, this is an option. You could keep just one leg up, or you could lift both of the knees in towards the body. I don't instruct this for the chair because it's challenging to do this in the chair. So I would say do this if you're on the floor only. And if you do decide to bring both knees in, maybe even a little gentle rocking from side to side might feel nice on the level. But again, these are all just options, so you choose to move in the way that makes you feel the best. And then everyone bring both feet back in. And then if you're on the mat, gently roll over to your side very briefly, bringing the knees towards the body. And then after a moment, bring yourself back to a seated position, but keep the legs extended forward, maybe a pillow under the knees. Our next posture is our forward bend. So once you come back to your seat, if you're in the chair, gently bring the legs forward, the feet firmly touching on the mat, a bend in the back of the knees, but notice the spine is lifted. The shoulders relaxed, a tiny tuck in the chin. And just take a few breaths here. Noticing what's happening in the body and maybe what's happening in the mind. And then everyone bring your hands to the center of the heart. As you inhale, lift the hands up towards the ceiling, maybe even looking up. And exhale, bring the hands around, circling back to the center of the heart. Do that again. Inhale in breath. And then exhale. And then one last time. Inhaling very slowly. A beautiful breath in. And then as you exhale, hands to the center of the heart. And then bring the hands to the tops of the thighs. And if you're on the mat, you could also, besides having a pillow under the knees, you could bring one under the hips too, in case the low back starts fussing at you. Just being mindful of that. And then everyone start moving the torso over the legs. Just very slowly begin to fold over. And you could keep the hands high on the hips or the thighs if you're in the chair. Just pay attention as you Fold over the legs, finding your edge. It's not a competition here, so if you move too far to begin with, just notice that and maybe take a few steps away, finding that sensation that's pleasing and not painful. And then just take some breath. Allow the body to relax with the breath. Sensing in the body where you're feeling maybe some opening as the body relaxes. And gently begin to walk back up the legs, finding that uplifted spine. And then a couple of breaths. If you're in the chair, you can bring your feet back underneath the knees. And allow the breath to wash in and wash out. Maybe even letting that washing out take away any of the residue of any muscle tension you may be feeling, maybe in the low back. And everyone just notice the sits bones in the seat. Our next posture is our half spinal twist. So if you're in the chair, you can choose to keep both of your feet firmly planted, or you could cross the left ankle over the right, or you could cross your knees. If you're on the mat, you could take the pillow out from underneath the knees and gently bring that left leg in towards the body, holding on to the left knee with the right hand. And you could choose to keep the foot inside the thigh, or depending on your range of motion, you could cross it over. But again, make sure if you cross it over that it's comfortable and not forcing, and that the foot makes complete contact with the mat. Lift the spine. Everyone take a breath. And as you exhale, begin to turn the body towards the left knee, that right hand on the outside of the knee. And then the left hand can be down by the hip, or if you're on the mat, behind the hip, just giving the body some support. Lifting the center of the chest, the gaze turning gently to the left. Notice the shoulders moving away from each other. And just enjoy this gentle twisting of the spine. And after a few breaths, maybe looking over the left shoulder a little bit, a little stretch for the upper part of the neck, but only if the neck is healthy and okay with that. Wherever you're at, just continue to let the breath flow. Deep, even breath. And then gently begin to turn the eyes back towards the front and notice the shoulder following, just taking all the time you need to come forward. And then bringing both feet back to the mat or to the floor. Take a breath. Maybe even sensing a little difference between the sides of the body. The left side maybe a little warmer than the right. And then choosing how you would like to work with the legs on the right side. You're crossing ankles or knees if you're in the chair. And first, before moving into the twist, take a breath and lift the spine. And as you exhale, begin to turn the body towards the right leg, the left hand on the outside of that right knee, and the right hand down by the hip, over the back of the chair, or behind the hip if you're on the mat. Turning the gaze to the right, just very slowly moving into the twist on the right side. Maybe a tiny lift of the chest, shoulders away from each other. And breath. And gently turning the gaze a little bit further over the right shoulder, if that's right for you. position. Preparing to move into our half shoulder stand. And you have options here if you're in the chairs and would like to bring a chair in front of you to lift the legs. Please make your preparations to do that. If you're on the mat, you could bring a chair, or you can even lift the legs up the wall. Again, depending on your personal preference. And also, arrange your pillows appropriately, taking all the time you need to find your preferred position for shoulder stand. If you've lifted the legs into the chair, make sure the back of the legs are firmly supported, that you don't feel like the body's hanging in space, creating any undue tension in the body. And you could bring a pillow under the back, under the neck, finding all those perfect points of support. And you could even just start by placing one leg up just to test how does that feel. And once the body signals everything is good, you can begin to bring the other leg up. And again, making those adjustments. Maybe that pillow under the low back if you have any low back issues. Letting the hands rest beside the body or on the abdomen even. And just relax here for a few breaths, letting the heart and the carotid arteries get a little bit of rest here. And notice as you relax a little bit longer, where are you feeling maybe a little less sensation in the body? Maybe the front of the body feels more at ease. Maybe you even notice the heart beating and find that comforting and soothing. That heart pumping our blood through the body as it should. Maybe noticing the mind a little calmer as well, as the body is in comfortable relaxation. And then our next posture is fish posture. So if you're on the floor, you're going to take your feet down out of the chair, but keep the chair nearby in case you'd like to utilize it again for relaxation. But let the legs come down. If you're in the chair, you would just let the hands come down beside the chair. We're going to lift the front of the chest. If you're on the floor, you may even change the orientation of your pillows. Placing a pillow the length of your spine. Maybe even a pillow under the knees if that's comfortable. And allowing the head to gently just lean off the edge of the pillow. Maybe noticing a tiny lift in the front of the chest. And if you're in the chair, just notice if you've gone a little too far, you could even prop a pillow behind the head to support the head and let the neck be comfortable but not too open. And wherever you end up, again, just stay for a few breaths. Fish pose is good for massaging the front of the throat where the thyroid gland resides. Maybe even bringing an image of a butterfly into the mind. That's the shape of the thyroid gland. Letting the breath help massage the gland that's responsible for our metabolic processes, controlling those things in the body. that we don't even think about on a daily basis. And then everyone releasing back to a neutral space. We're moving into relaxation from here. So if you're on the mat, making those adjustments to find comfort, you might lift the legs back up into the chair if you would like to relax that way. Or you can leave them on the ground, maybe propping a pillow under the knees. You choose what works for you, because in relaxation, you're going to let the body just completely go. So if you don't feel supported and you feel like things are going to fall, then make sure you have some blankets or a pillow propped underneath any part of the body. Y'all look pretty good and comfortable today. And just once you arrive into your posture of relaxation, allow the body to relax. Just release the muscles, maybe even the feet move away from each other a little. And allow the breath to come into the body deeply. And as you exhale, let the breath feel like a wave moving out with the tide. Just let go of everything. Knowing that the work is complete for now, taking this time for yourself to relax the body and the mind. Closing the eyes if they're not already closed. And gently move the mind's eye through the body. Maybe noticing areas that might still be holding on to tension. Could be muscular tension, or it could be emotional tension. Just noticing whatever is there, or maybe a lack of that sensation. Just enjoying being. And as the body relaxes, allow an image to come into the mind of your heart. Practicing a little bit of direct imagery here, and just bringing awareness, that image of the heart into the mind. And then allow the breath to help bring health back to your heart. Thinking of maybe the breath removing any blockages you may be aware of in the vessels of the heart or the chambers of the heart. And spending a little time with that image, you may notice the image changes, and that's okay. Just let it be whatever it is. And maybe there's another part of the body that may benefit from some healing too. And allow that to happen as you lay here in this beautiful, peaceful state. Relaxing the feet and the lower part of the legs, the upper part of the legs, relaxing the buttocks and the low back. Relaxing the middle part of the back and the upper part of the back. Relax the hips and the pelvis. all the muscles that surround the pelvis. Relax the hands and the fingers and the arms as they lay beside the body. Relax the abdomen. Relaxing the ribs that surround the lungs. Relax the front of the chest. Relaxing the heart, the physical heart, and perhaps also the emotional heart, relaxed and at ease. Relax the shoulders, the back of the neck, the back of the head, the front of the throat. Relaxing all the muscles of the face. Relaxing the jawbones, cheekbones, temples, space between the eyes and the forehead, soft. Relaxing the top of the head. Sensing the entire body completely relaxed. And maybe noticing any emotions or thoughts that may gently still be coursing through the mind. Or maybe noticing a little quietness there as well. Even moving a tiny bit deeper inside to that place of peace and tranquility and deep inside where your true nature resides. And savoring this beautiful place that you have discovered. Perhaps noticing some healing energy arising, a ball of light, perhaps in front of the forehead. And letting that energy enter into the body on your next inhale. Allowing that energy to move through the body, healing anything in its path. It could be the heart, or it could be another part of the body. Or it could even be an emotional situation that needs some healing today. And just allow that healing to happen. Ever so gently begin to bring some awareness back into the body, maybe just by deepening the breath, letting the breath open the pathways in the body, gently awakening the mind as well. Deep, even breath. Maybe even sighing out a little bit as you exhale. But just be very gentle and compassionate as you bring awakening back. in your own time, if the legs are lifted, begin to make that transition back to legs down to the earth. And if you're on the mat, begin that gentle rolling over to your favorite side and making your way very slowly back to a seated position when you're ready. Just take all the time you need. And wherever you're at, spend some time with the breath. Maybe working with our 3 parts of breath. Maybe bring that deep breath in. Feel the abdomen expand. The ribs move away as the lungs fill with air and the chest lifting. And as you let the breath flow out, notice the opposite action, the chest moving down, the ribs moving in, and the abdomen contracting. Just spending a few cycles of breath, noticing expansion and contraction. And then returning back to your normal breath pattern, maybe adding some gentle movements to the body now, fingers, toes, gentle rocking of the head, bringing that awareness of the body and space into the mind, and finding your seat. And you could even return back to a chair if you're on the mat. And then just the last few moments of meditation. Maybe even just bringing an uplifting word into the mind. It could be peace, it could be gratitude, whatever flows into the mind today. Bringing that word right into the center of the forehead, into the mind's eye. And spending time on contemplation of just that word. Noticing if the mind moves away from that contemplation, just let it gently come back when you notice. Just working on that focus of meditation, whatever it is for you. Notice, where is your mind? Gently releasing focus and returning awareness to the mind. Opening the eyes if they're closed, just gently returning. Awakening, but still holding on to that place of peace and relaxation. Tucking it away should you need it later on in the day, or maybe just in your life in general. And if you'd like to practice a closing breath with me, hands out to the side, inhaling and lifting the palms up overhead, and bringing the palms down to the center of the heart. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Have a great day.